Millions of people remember it clearly. Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s. They remember the news coverage, the funeral, the mourning. He didn't. Nelson Mandela walked free in 1990 and became president of South Africa. So why do so many people share the exact same false memory? And what if it isn't just memory that's broken, but reality itself? The answer is stranger than most people are ready to accept. The term was coined in 2009 by a paranormal researcher named Fiona Broom. She was at a conference, casually mentioning her clear memory of Nelson Mandela's prison death, only to discover others remembered it too. Not one or two people, dozens. She named it the Mandela Effect and posted her findings online. The internet responded like a match dropped into dry grass. Thousands of people came forward, not with similar stories, but with identical ones. People who had never met, living on different continents, remembering the same things that never happened. The examples began stacking up, and some were genuinely hard to dismiss. Take the Monopoly Man, the top-hatted mascot printed on one of the world's most famous board games. Ask almost anyone, and they'll tell you he wears a monocle, a small round lens over one eye. He never has, not on a single version of the game in any country, across over a century of printing. Then there is Pikachu, the iconic yellow mascot of the Pokemon franchise, recognized by children and adults on every continent. Millions of people insist his tail ends in a black tip. It doesn't. The tail is entirely yellow. These aren't obscure details that people barely noticed. These are images that millions of people have looked at thousands of times, and somehow they all remember wrong. The examples don't stop there. Millions of people remember the children's book series as Berenstain Bears, spelled with an E. The actual name has always been Berenstain, spelled with an A. People have pulled out their own childhood copies, still in storage, and found the A staring back at them. There is the famous quote from the movie Field of Dreams, "If you build it, they will come." Except the actual line is, "If you build it, he will come." One word different, and nearly everyone has it wrong. In 2012, researchers at the University of California studied memory and courtroom testimony, finding that eyewitnesses routinely and confidently recalled events that simply did not occur. Not vague recollections, vivid, detailed, confident false memories. Memory, it turns out, is not a recording. It is a reconstruction, rebuilt from fragments every time you access it. Each time you remember something, you are not playing it back. You are rewriting it, and every rewrite is vulnerable to outside influence. In the 1970s, psychologist Elizabeth Loftus conducted landmark experiments on memory contamination. She showed people footage of a car crash, then later asked some of them how fast the cars were going when they smashed. The word smashed versus softer words like hit caused witnesses to remember the crash as significantly faster and more violent than it was. Language itself had physically altered the memory. Now scale that up to the internet, where millions of people discuss the same shared cultural images constantly. Every misremembered description, every wrong fan theory, every confident but incorrect Reddit post, all become contaminants in the shared memory pool. But some people refuse to accept that explanation because the memories feel too specific, too vivid, and too widely shared to be explained away by contaminated recollections. For them, there is another explanation, one rooted not in psychology, but in physics. One that suggests the memories are not wrong. They are from somewhere else entirely. The question is where. The most dramatic explanation for the Mandela Effect is the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. The idea that every possible outcome of every event spawns a new, separate branch of reality. In other words, every choice, every accident, every coin flip creates a duplicate universe where the other outcome happened. Some theorists propose that occasionally, people, or groups of people, slip between these branches. They arrive in this reality, carrying the correct memories of the one they left. In a parallel branch, Nelson Mandela really did die in prison in the 1980s. In that branch, Pikachu's tail has a black tip, and the Monopoly Man wears a monocle. And in that branch, everything those millions of people remember is absolutely, verifiably correct. It is an extraordinary claim, and mainstream physics does not endorse it as an explanation for memory. But the science of memory itself offers something almost equally unsettling, a process called confabulation, where the brain, presented with a gap in memory, simply invents a detail to fill it, not lying, genuinely believing the invented memory is real. When social suggestion layers on top, when millions of people hear a confident misquote repeated online, the brain can adopt that false information as its own stored memory. This is called the misinformation effect, a well-documented phenomenon in cognitive psychology where post-event information overwrites original memory. So the Berenstain name sounds like it should end in Stein, because Stein is a far more common ending in English surnames. The brain smooths it into a familiar pattern and then remembers the smoothed version as fact. The Monopoly man resembles historical figures who did wear monocles, and the brain, pattern matching at speed, fills in the expected accessory. The truth is, both explanations, quantum branching and memory contamination, share one devastating implication. You cannot fully trust what you are certain you remember. Certainty is not evidence. Confidence is not accuracy. And vivid is not true. Whether memories shift between dimensions or are quietly rewritten inside the skull, the effect is the same. Millions of people are walking around with a version of the past that cannot be verified, cannot be found, and yet feels more real than anything else they know. That is not a glitch in a few broken minds. That is something far more fundamental about what memory, and perhaps reality, actually is. Before tonight, you were probably certain about a few things. The tale of a cartoon character you've seen 1,000 times. The name on the cover of a book you read as a child. The face of a man printed on a board game that sat on your shelf for years. The human brain is not a hard drive. It is a storyteller. And like all storytellers, it edits, embellishes, and sometimes makes things up entirely. Whether or not parallel universes exist, the Mandela Effect has already proven something profound. The reality you are most confident about may be the one furthest from the truth. Somewhere right now, someone is pulling an old toy from a box in their attic. They are absolutely certain of what they are about to see. They are wrong,